Welcome, everyone, to District Dialogue, a podcast by the Community Foundation, focused on highlighting the voices shaping the future of education. Welcome back, everyone, to District Dialogue, a podcast powered by the Community Foundation, where we focus on highlighting the voices leading education forward. Today's guest is David Wildy, Chief Technology Officer at Dublin Unified School District in Dublin, California. David, welcome to the show, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Julian. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. If you wouldn't mind just providing a little bit of overview and your background as well as your role, and from there we'd love to dive into some other questions regarding the day in and day out of your work as well.
Sure. I'm like I said, the CTO here at Dublin Unified School District. I just completed my fourth year here, and we're located in the Bay Area, on the east side of the Bay. About 12,790 students, and thankfully still growing where other school districts are starting to decline. So that's something we're still very excited about. For me, like I said, I've been here past 4 years. Previous, I was at Martinez Unified School District, just north of here, and then I spent 19 years at East Bay, Cal State East Bay,
Sure.
working technology, but also managing different areas such as like facilities, procurement, all of the different kind of areas like we in technology rely on for our success. And so I've had experience in managing those areas as well. So really has helped me as a CTO, guiding me through the bureaucracy of everything that goes on within the school district. And I love it here at East Bay. I love it here at Dublin Unified. Really a great staff. We're a small staff, but we do a lot of things and we are mighty. And we get the job done.
I love that, and definitely love the fact that you have that practical, like you said, background as well that leads into education. What were some of the things that got you into technology? It sounds like something that you might have always been engaged in. What are some of your whys as it relates to being in tech as well? I've shared this many times. I was the Radio Shack kid myself, so I love it. Relate, but I'd love to hear your story.
Well, I have had been involved with computers since I was young. My stepdad worked for IBM, and he brought home some of the first PCs. The ones you could, the first home PCs, and showed me how to take them apart and put them back together. And I took programming classes and working with as early as Basic and Basica. And
Wow.
I went in, and when I went to college, I followed my passion, which was music, but I always was working with technology and running the music labs and things like that at San Jose State. And then when I started to go down the teaching credential program, I started to figure, you know what? My wife was going through the teaching credential program and seeing her what she was going through, and I was thinking about every music teacher that I had ever had, and how they work their summers and band camps and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, maybe this is not necessarily what I want to be doing. And I got into working at Computer Learning Center and was teaching orientation and career development. We had a psychology class that I taught, but also subbing in for teachers and working with computers, and also counseling students. And then when I moved to East Bay, technology was a small part of the job, which actually grew into managing all of the housing technology. But I still had a yearning to be in education, not like post-secondary, but in primary and secondary education. And so the move over to as a director of technology at Martinez came at the right time, and it was a fantastic change for me, and I really, really love it.
That's great. I'm glad that you get a chance to, really pursue, and not only pursue what you love, but rather leverage that to help the next generation. Really love to dig into how you see one technology impacting modern education and maybe some of the ways that that's changed over time.
Mm. Well, the one well, as we all know, the one technology that's changing education right now is AI.
Big time.
It is just, it's a I don't wanna say it's a scary beast, but it is something that is really, really has taken the forefront, and as I've explained it to a lot of, groups that, we've had AI ever since, even before, we had Clippy, in, Microsoft Word. I mean,
Yeah.
we had the fear of AI, as early as 2001, Space Odyssey with HAL, it's gonna take over.
Yeah.
But it's generative AI, and its effects on education has been probably within the last couple of years the most, I would say, important breakthrough, but
Mhm.
also really, pushed us into, un un you know, uncharted waters,
Mhm.
because we have students who want to use it properly, but we also have students who are not using it properly, and we have teachers who are frustrated with, inappropriate use, of it by students, and, there's so many incredible benefits that we see from a like, an administrative end and from, just being able to accomplish some of the, I don't wanna say mundane tasks that we have every day, but that assist us in that. But what it's doing in the classroom and what students are doing with it, some of it is just absolutely incredible. But there is a question of, appropriate use and what teachers in and how teachers feel about it, and it's different in every class and in every subject, and it's just something that we are working through, as a district, and I know every other district is working through it. Like, how are we gonna manage this new technology, which is just, I think snowballed a lot of people.
I agree. That the ultimate buzzword of I would say 24 and 25, right? And so in that same regard, do you find yourself using it on your daily, in your daily work, or maybe even within your departments for the different leaders that you lead across multiple sites?
Yeah, I do. I use it for, there's some amazing things that it can do, like when we do training videos and things like that, to ask it to start at least with the, like, creating narratives, like, I'm
Yeah,
looking for 5-minute presentation of 5-minute training on this subject, and at least it gives me an outline that I can start with, and then I can start building it back to something that's more, that works better for our district and for the individuals that I'm trying to reach, but at least it gives me an outline to start. And there's lots of, ones that are, how to say it, allow us to do statistical, and get statistical analysis,
hmm,
really kind of, allow us to, put assessment data in and get a lot of good information out. There's a balance there, when we're putting that information in to make sure we're not sharing anything that is, has any kind of student information or any kind of
big
teacher
time.
information. Just, provide us some raw data. Here's some raw data, and let us, take a look at what comes out of it. So there's lots of things that are great, that are, much better, or make my life, and I know a lot of staff members' lives easier.
Hmm.
And the tempting part is to not let it overtake everything you do,
Yep.
but also to look at what the results you get from AI and make sure that it's right. One, make sure it's right,
Human in the
but
loop.
also
Yeah.
to, make sure that it is, works for what you want to do, within your job description or within your district. Because there's a lot of temptation to just cut and paste, and, that can lead to also some issues as well.
Agreed. Yeah, the hallucinations are still real, even at 25, and I don't imagine them immediately just disappearing. And to your point, I find that to be a common theme across multiple leaders and stakeholders from different industries. I myself, lead a small organization here in Atlanta where I still encourage it, but at the same time, that human in the loop aspect is key as it relates to just before we publish or really, solidify anything, making sure we get that positive review. And then to your point, and really some of the comments that even my team has, it's like I use it for reference, but not to synthesize, directly what I know is needed or what I like to produce on our end. So I love that. And just even pivoting right from AI into maybe another major topic that's on everyone's mind within the world of technology. uh, how does the world of cybersecurity factor into your daily life? I imagine that's something that has existed, to your point, just as long as AI, if not prior to. What are some of the main concerns and even objectives as it relates to, again, cybersecurity and security within your tech infrastructure?
Well, I think, it's the one thing that keeps CTOs up at night is the possibility of when, and it's not necessarily if, it's in many cases it's when
Yeah.
we are going to have a cybersecurity issue. And we've seen the different, how to say it, we've seen things evolving, in terms of, I was talking to our admin staff yesterday,
Mhm.
and we see the biggest issue right now is email phishing.
Yes.
And from a perspective of, in the business office, we are getting fake invoices. We are having vendors who maybe don't have the best cybersecurity infrastructure, and they have been compromised, and they in turn send us emails to try to compromise us. On
Mhm.
the teacher's end, one of the biggest things right now going through is fake Google Docs, and then asking information from teachers,
Mhm.
and then propagating. Basically, it runs like a pyramid scheme. So once that person is given access, then there's more emails that go out to other school districts.
Uh,
It's very interesting the way things have been going. It used to be that I was more worried about intrusion and um, uh, uh, you know, um, DOS attacks and things like that.
sure.
And we're still worried about that. But I'm now. For me, it's that one staff member who maybe is not being careful, and who is, allows access into what could be sensitive information, that can be held against us, or a ransom attack, which is another thing that is definitely, um, on school district and CTO's minds, because we are low hanging fruit in many ways.
Yeah.
We are short in many ways, and so it's easy for a group to come in and hold the district hostage, knowing that their insurance is going to pay for it,
Mhm.
or hoping their insurance is going to pay for it. So those are like the things that are very, um, that scare me. But we have a secondary authentication for all of our staff. um, we are combating it in different ways in terms of endpoint protection.
Mhm.
Obviously antivirus. We're working with a vendor looking for dark web listings for our domains, impersonations, all those kinds of things.
That's
So we're
great.
being very proactive in looking at our security flaws, tightening them up, but also, what can we do to be more now, instead of reactive, proactive, and getting on top of like accounts that may be compromised, all those kinds of things, and educating our staff.
That leads into my very next question. As you were talking, I'm thinking, what do you find to be one of the more worthwhile investments? Is it standing up the, that, making the district a hard target, or is it the education, or maybe a combination of the two? What do you find to be some of the more effective, I would say, investments as it relates to securing and protecting the district technology?
Well, and I think in some ways, the biggest, how to say it, I think our biggest, hmm, yeah, it's tough because there are so many different things that we worry about. I think in terms of, and we've had some issues where there's a download on a student computer, or
Mhm.
a download on a staff computer that um, has some kind of malware or something to that effect that starts propagating within our network. And we've taken steps in order to be able to monitor if someone tries to install something, and particularly something that's a known issue, that
Yeah.
we're immediately notified and we can shut that computer down um, remotely. And so that is something that thankfully we haven't had to do very often, but it's happened.
Yep.
And because it's difficult within a large network to really see, what's going on and what individuals are doing. And so to have those programs there that monitor that for us, and it really, for me, it makes me worry before we had these products, like what was actually going on that we weren't seeing.
Yeah.
Uh, and it goes with, we have classes like computer programming, right? We have all of these. We do computer security and network security as part of our CTE programs. So those classes are there. Those students are playing with those and looking at those kinds of viruses
Yeah.
and how they work and function. And it doesn't take much for a student to go in and pull something off of GitHub or something to that, a service like that, not knowing what they're really doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a huge fear, and it makes us a target, both from external sources and unwitting internal sources as well.
I understand. So kind of a blended approach I, here is, most effective. And to your point around some of the fears that exist, we've all heard the horror stories around municipalities and, whether it's entire county or some cases school districts, to your point, being held, ransom for, access to their technology back, which is scary. But, it all starts with some type of vulnerability that provides that, use case in the first place. So, love the prevention efforts that you all are standing up. And you mentioned, this is something that really engages the students as it relates to being able to inform them as well. I love to hear just more holistically, not just from a, security prevention perspective, but largely the educational aspects as it relates to just continuing to provide modern technology within the classroom, as well. What are some of the benefits and value adds that you've seen that make it, ever so more necessary to continue to provide this tech?
Mm. Are you talking from like an education end, like how we educate students and staff on these items, or?
Actually, yeah. So that would be maybe the follow up. But what are some of the outcomes of knowing that technology is not going anywhere, and really recognizing that you want to provide access to meaningful and modern technology itself? What are some of the things that you recognize as the largest opportunities, or even the major learning outcomes for students from their perspective?
Mm, okay. So, I'm trying to uh get the so when we the pandemic was a, how to say it, a remarkable change in technology for education, right?
Right.
We went from carts in hallways
Hmm.
that teachers, like an elementary school teacher, wouldn't grab the cart, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Coming back from the pandemic to basically being uh technology in the hands of every student. So we went from an occasional technology in elementary school to basically being the primary um, curriculum deliverer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is a huge change. And that a lot of that was brought on by the pandemic. And so now we have one-to-one in every classroom, in every for every age group, with the exception of kindergarten, which were 1 to 2.
Awesome.
Um, so it's a huge change, right? So we are putting the technology directly in the hands of the students. Teachers don't have to wait if they want to be in there and say, okay, we're going to be doing math today. They don't have to wait for the math checkout, right?
Yeah.
For that. And so we have Chromebooks, which we feel that offer the best security in terms of not only, it's very difficult um, to have any kind of intrusion within the Chromebook from the way it's built.
Mhm.
And it allows us to reset it very quickly. And it allows us to monitor it through Google's backend admin very easily as well. And to install, filtering and things like that we do for the students. So within that, we have a responsibility for making sure that we're SIPA and COPA compliant, that we're compliant with all of these different things. And the Chromebooks that we put in the students' hands do that.
Mhm.
Now, for some of our like CTE programs, our ROP programs, we are, using laptops, and there is because of the higher end requirements of those programs, and those take a lot more monitoring,
Yeah.
and a lot more, re-imaging and things like that, and it's a lot more work, and there's a lot more of a security risk with them as well. Um, and for teachers, we do have, classroom standards when we provide laptops and all those things. So we're really trying to meet the needs of this new age of curriculum, and I think we're doing a fairly good job with it. But in return, that, as you said, takes a lot more education,
Yeah.
a lot more compliance with all these different like federal standards and stuff like that, and a lot more education for teachers because, well, and the pandemic helps, right? So they had to dive into technology, but there's still a lot of things that we are assisting teachers with. We work with our curriculum and development, uh, d- uh, curricu- um, curriculum and instruction department, and as part of ed services. And so we are working with them as to, not only piloting, but what's needed within the classrooms, and as part of a whole overall um, curriculum delivery, which we are part of. And we do the same thing with our ROP and CTE programs too. So, and we are in ed services. And so it
Yeah.
makes it a really positive experience in making sure that the students have the technology they need. The other flip side is also training all the teachers on the technology, which um, we have this, we can teach you the curriculum, right?
Yep.
But in some ways, you're only like scraping off the crust of what you really could do. And to really provide some more instruction, we have ed tech coaches and stuff that help with that, help our
Awesome.
teachers as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of different things that we're doing to making sure that the technology works within the classroom, and we're providing as much instruction as possible.
That's great. Yeah, focusing a bit on the teachers there. How is like you said, sometimes it takes a bit of education and even upskilling to, at that level to make sure that, the students are able to receive the best well-rounded, implementation of the technology. How's it been within that process? Are teachers more receptive that you find nowadays, even after COVID, or is there still a little bit of a, not necessarily a learning curve, but even maybe an adoption or a affinity for, one preference or another? What are you seeing at the teacher level?
I'm seeing a lot more openness to technology, and especially from teachers who in the past may have not been as welcoming, particularly in our elementary school, early elementary school. And I think this is just across the board where uh, the early elementary school is very like, we don't want to be on technology all the time.
Yeah, yeah,
Completely understand. There's a lot of of student development that is tactile, that is social, that
yeah.
is all those things that in some cases technology can't provide them, right?
Mhm.
And so that's good. And I think for those teachers, they're finding that balance of how do I still provide these other um, standards that are development standards these students can meet without really being on computers or anything like that. And so, but many of them are open to online curriculum. They're open to a lot of the different things that we can provide, and
Mhm.
they're interested in getting that training. But we also run into a point of how much time we have available to provide that, right?
Right.
Because providing training to teachers, if we do it on a mandatory level, we only have so many professional development days, right? Or
Understood.
we have to take students, or we have to take teachers out of the classroom, pay for subs, get them trained, and uh, that's part of like curriculum training, part of technology training. So it's a delicate balancing act because there's also a budget component of that because I have to pay for those subs to be done, right?
Makes
We have
sense.
to pay for subs to come in while we do the training and maybe while we pay for a vendor to come in and do the training. So it can be cost prohibitive sometimes. I think that's the best way to do it. So then we have to say, okay, well, let's look for ways of creating quality training manuals, creating videos that maybe are on the short end, more like a TikTok kind of video, right? Where I'm providing not necessarily, here's a 2-hour overview of this beautiful product that I just purchased. We just spent a lot of money on. And we may do that, but we may do all our supplementaries may be like, well, here's how you do this and this
Mhm.
little thing and this little thing. Um, and also pulling as many vendor videos as possible to supplement. And most teachers, will go in and they'll take a look at those videos and, they'll contact us for instruction. So I think in this day and age, the need is there, the want is there. It is a kind of a little tightrope act on how the district is able to provide it within, the learning day and within the budget we have.
I love that, and really going the other direction to your latter, statement there in regards to the district desires, or if you want, if you will, the objectives there. Is this mainly the implementation and introduction of new technologies being driven, by state standards, federal standards? Is it based on, to your earlier comment, maybe even CTE alignment as it relates to careers that the students need to be prepared for? What are you finding driving the real, if you will, implementation and increase of technology use case from the district or the administration level?
Well, I mean, we're always implementing our technology with assessment. One of the bigger things that came out last year was College Board decided that we're not going to be doing any paper assessments, AP testing anymore, right? I
Oh,
think
that's
there's only
fire.
one class they allow that the paper AP assessment, and so we had to design a way for technology to be available for up to 300 people taking AP tech because they all have to take this. Like you offer AP history, every single student who takes AP history has to take the test at the same time, right?
Right.
So we have to be able to create these environments where the laptop, the Chromebooks are there, the testing things are there. So sometimes technology is driven out of desperation to make things happen, and also I think we look at the salute. How to say? I'll take Chromebooks as an example. We look at Chromebooks as what our delivery device is.
Yep.
As technology, as the curriculum gets more and more complex that's available online, we are seeing that we have had to like upgrade our Chromebooks. We have had to upgrade certain technologies in order to meet the growing need of the curriculum. You see that in when you look at CTE programs. We've looked at the possibility of doing virtual of VDIs for students to go in and do that work virtually so that they can possibly do homework
Hmm.
uh, in that VDI from home. So they're not just confined to like, oh, the laptop stay here. So, if you have homework and stuff, you know, you're gonna have to figure out something to do at home. So we've been looking at those kind of things that would allow students to be able to um, complete work outside of the school, but also to have a protected environment where they feel that they can explore and not disturb our networks. I think that's the easiest way to put it. So we're always looking for different things that can provide the how to say it, the best way for a teacher to reach their students and for the curriculum to be delivered. And I have teachers that come to me and say, I'd like to do this, and it's like, okay, that's maybe not our classroom standard, but maybe that's something that this teacher feels that will be the best way to deliver their curriculum for their student. And so we may say, okay, let's do a pilot. Let's get a couple more teachers in here and get feedback. One of the things our union is our teachers union wants to be is involved in that process of how we are delivering new technologies into the classroom instead of instead of a district edict, you might say, that they want to be part of that process. They want to be in more pilots. They want to be able to give their feedback, and that's excellent. We should be getting that feedback because I don't sit in the classroom, right? I'm not, and all the people who are here at the district, we don't sit in the classroom every day delivering the curriculum. So our best feedback and our best allies in
Mhm.
terms of pushing new technology out is the teachers, because teachers will come back and say, we had a group just recently of 45 teachers reviewing classroom management, like screen monitoring, right?
Sure.
And their feedback was invaluable, and we thought from a district level, maybe we need to make a change in what the vendor we're using. Coming back, they said, "No, this vendor does what we needed to do." And so we said, "Great, we'll just keep it the way it is, and, we won't make that change." They're part of that decision. Um, and I think in truth, they need to be because that is our best way of pushing out new technology that's effective in the classroom.
I love that. And if you don't mind expounding on what that feedback loop looks like holistically, I imagine, of course, monitoring software is the one component that is rather easy to get, immediate feedback. But like you mentioned already, the actual technology used as the new medium for training education, I'm sure that, that maybe isn't as easy just to sway back and forth after you order hundreds or maybe thousands of devices and other areas that might be relevant. What do the feedback loops look like within the different realms of your role as well?
Well, we do have different committees
Yep.
that provide feedback. So I chair the technology advisory committee, and what I try to do with that committee is to have parents, students, and staff to be able to look at um, technology. Maybe it's technology that we're like physical technology we're looking at, policies that we're looking at, different aspects of like what my department does. The CNI, we have curriculum council that's also involved within the technology range of um, technology curriculum, um, and they also run piloting. And so we will pilot curriculum, and that will also could make a decision of like, well, you know what, we need tablets for this curriculum. Like
I see.
Chromebooks are not working. We need to figure out a solution that works better. And so for this recent pilot that I was talking about, we worked with the vendor to give a window, just as we would for curriculum, to say, okay, so this is going to be 2 months or a month, and having a couple of meetings within that time to say, hey, how are things are going, um, get the vendor training provided, all of those kinds of things, the same things we do for curriculum, but
Sure.
for technology, so that the teachers feel comfortable or at least informed enough that when they go and use that program and they go and evaluate that program, that um, that they can use it right off the bat and they can provide us with good information. Also, that we hopefully we'll have people in the pilot that are representative of the union, so that the union is knowledgeable of what we're doing, so that there's not an issue with possibility of we didn't run it by the union, or we didn't um, have them involved.
Yeah.
So having union representation is a good thing within those pilots as well. And so, and then really going with the feedback, and then for me, hopefully providing that feedback back to the vendor, because
That
there may have been something we've missed. There also may have been something that they may want to improve down the road in order to be more competitive. And so the next time we go to do evaluation, they're like, oh yeah, we took care of that. Like, I've seen some programs just grow and evolve wonderfully to a place where, yeah, that now will work for our district. And so let's take a look at it. And then we also, if it's not just in the classroom, if it's also something that's going to affect our professional staff, to have staff involved as part of that pilot as well, so that we're really getting good feedback, because budgets are limited. We want to make sure that we're providing the best product. And like you said, yeah, I just bought $100,000 worth of product and no one's going to use it. So it's gonna sit in a warehouse until we e-waste it in someday, and that's not being good stewards of the funds that we're given, and it's not being effective. That make sure it's not showing that our department is effective in listening to what our students and staff need.
I love that. Proactive, not necessarily reactive. I think that should be the mindset for most professionals, no matter your domain. But that feedback loop, I wouldn't think it would include parents, but I love to hear that element as well. And I'm guessing that may not be the majority of the feedback that you're getting, with that piece, I'm sure, is still critical as it relates to your point, how does homework take place, if you do want the students to do it at home. And so that's great to know as well. Even staying there a bit, have you found, what are some of the constraints that might impact, the families themselves when it comes to selecting technology, as it relates to, leveraging that for classroom use, or like I mentioned, homework use?
Well, I think there's a little bit of a misnomer of being here in the Bay Area, that we're in Silicon Valley and that everyone has a tablet and a laptop and a smartphone and all those kinds of things. And some kids do,
Yeah.
right? So some kids have the technology that's there and available to them. But we also have people that are students and families who are low to moderate income.
Hmm.
We also have students that are foster students, McKinney-Vento, so they classify themselves as homeless. Um, and so those technologies that we just think we're living in the Bay Area, like we're gonna just pick up a tablet off the street and the kid's right there. They're not always available to them. And so we really have continued the practice since the pandemic, providing Chromebooks and technology to students who are in need, so that they can continue their education, either whether it's doing supplementary work for like elementary school, or for secondary, actually, doing homework and things like that. Um, and providing them with both the possibility of internet and a Chromebook. One of the things that uh, ventures that we had with T-Mobile is that we have Chromebooks that have the internet built into them.
Very
And
cool. Wow.
we really wanted to make sure that we got those out to our students who are foster or homeless, so that they're not don't necessarily feel like they have to sit at Starbucks until the wee hours of whenever Starbucks closes, or
Sure.
at Denny's to the wee hours of the morning, taking their internet, so that they can do their homework, or that they can be able to find a safe space and that internet's available for them to be able to work at any time. So we're looking at those possibilities because it's important when we have students with such high expectations.
Yeah.
Let's say we have students who have multiple AP classes, and these students need to be able to have the technology at home in order for them to succeed and to continue to do their work. I think that's important. It's something we have strived to provide to students, and we will continue to provide for students. We have line items in our budget,
Mm.
or not. We have items and lines in our budget, basically dedicated to that, and for our LCAP to provide that as, and we are measured by like how many are out there and everything. So I think it's really super important.
I love that. This is one of those cases, or what the example you just shared is one of those cases for me where I'm saying to myself, man, I wished I had that when I was younger, because I definitely found myself as, one of the individuals that had the need, even with, earlier technology in the early 2000s. And there's still not a requirement, but the opportunities that could be really realized if you had the access to technology. And that really reflects exactly to where and why we built our organization. Just to give you a little bit of background, the Community Foundation focuses on really bridging the gap for emerging professionals entering into technology and digital entertainment by, leveraging interest-based touch points. But then also we recognized, really, as we started that effort of exposure and education and upskilling in that regard, the digital divide is more than just the education. Technology is also another key and critical piece to that, right? And so I love the fact that you mentioned just the mindfulness around how will students continue learning if they don't have internet at home. We ourselves have actually built and renovated 16 innovation labs across the U.S. Again, solving for that digital divide from an infrastructure perspective aspect. Yeah, I actually had a real world scenario to your point where I was conversing with a colleague, and we saw that someone in a Tesla eating at a more cost effective restaurant. Having a chance to interact with them, they said, "No, this is a Uber ride. I'm using this to make money. This is not my personal vehicle."
Right.
Right? You can't judge anyone by their personal situation. That's a very appropriate mindset, David. Um, yeah, it makes me just reflect. I'm appreciative of others sharing that same mindset. You mentioned earlier the CTE and maybe some of the differences or nuances that are required with career and technical education. Love for you to double click there to really elaborate on what some of those differences are, and really just the, again, outcomes that come from providing that enhanced or more robust offering of technology as well, to the classroom, in the classroom. Excuse
Well, CTE is very broad. So we're going anywhere from our culinary,
me.
our culinary department to our architecture and design, CTE and ROP programs. And what we really want to try to do is to provide, as real world experience as we can, right? When we have something that um, like a CAD, like our CAD class
Mhm.
for architecture. And we're very lucky that Bill Bronca, who is our coordinator for our CTE and ROP programs,
Okay.
does an amazing job in getting financial um, grants and things like that to allow us to have like really high end laptops to allow students to use those programs to their fullest. I mean, when you look at something like a CAD laptop, it's got to be a 17-inch laptop, right? It has to be
Yeah.
able to allow that student to do work as they would do within the field in the profession. Really gives them that experience, that, and hopefully that desire to continue in post secondary, to continue down that line. I really feel that like CT is so beneficial for students to, as they get their beaks wet into
Yeah.
what they want to do in college, and really get an idea. And technology, we have to make sure we need it. Like I said, you have things like child growth and development. Maybe they don't need the technology as much as our computer programming and our computer needs classes, and um, being providing servers for them to use and to program, and again, hopefully keeping it within a little bubble that
Sure.
protects us from any problems. But we really strive to hopefully they have the higher end technology. We just for video production, we were opening up a new um, we just opened up a new high school. And we're opening up phase 2, which actually has a um, video productions lab. We have an animations lab.
Oh,
We
cool.
also have, big in TVs for students to come in and render their projects. And every year they do like a short film competition kind of thing where they go into the theater. We have in one of our theaters, and they show the films at our high school, and really to give them the tools and everything to provide or to create some really amazing things. And a lot of that work, like I said, is done by Bill and his one-man team, which is Bill, and um, to get that funding and to coordinate those teachers. And we work directly with him to make sure that the technology is happening in the classroom, and in these labs, and really, really some exciting things that we do with those programs.
How cool. That's right up our alley and something that we've seen. We've had to work with different districts and again municipalities as it relates to, okay, if you guys want a lab with this type of technology with, high end, actual computer towers or desktops, they're gonna have to be on their own firewall. We're not gonna put this in the main, to your point, servers. And so we've seen that aspect. And like you said, kudos to your current CTE director who just is making sure that they're able to remove the barriers to your point to make sure that students have those relevant skill sets. Love to position just maybe this question a little bit more open to you to maybe advocate or even provide insight to other CTOs as well as just educators broadly around what best practices look like, or maybe even just a formula for success, to make that cross collaborative process happen between again district, the classroom. You mentioned even parents. What's maybe a formula success or a best practice that you'd want to really advocate for everyone to listen and learn from?
Well, I think in terms of where I am in my position, working in ed services is really um, the best place in terms of being able to touch with a lot of many different departments within our district. My personal belief system has always been that technology should be kind of in and on its own, not like necessarily connected to ed services or business services, because we reach all the different departments within a district, right? We
Right.
work with our staff and our business offices, and we are working directly with teachers and curriculum development and all of those things. And so I've told our in conversation with our ed services team, I said, like, our department is in each of your departments. We are a part of that. And it is a tightrope balancing act, I always feel, to say, "Okay, I'm providing services here for in the classroom, I'm providing services here, I'm getting as much feedback, I'm." And in some cases, for me, it's difficult to I gotta look at the 30,000-foot view,
Yeah.
and I also have to be down there with my staff, and doing the work and meeting with people, so it is a challenge. And I try to get as much feedback as possible. So we talked about working with parents and how odd that could be. um, it's amazing, well, particularly in the Silicon Valley, how many parents really want to be involved in the technology and providing feedback um, and getting information. And so it's to get their feedback and to get students' feedback, and uh, it's difficult, but um, I do say that our work as in technology, we are first and foremost here for the student and the learning outcomes that the teachers are providing. That's got to be our first and foremost. Even though like we're in everyone, like we're in every cubicle, right? We're in every, every
Yeah.
phone line, everything. All of that is us. But we are first and foremost here for the student and the learning outcomes from the teachers. And that has to be our primary goal
Yep.
and our primary focus. And then, then as much as we can to be able to provide for the rest of the district, and the needs of the rest of the district. And um, it's sometimes I find it a little bit daunting. But like I said, I have a staff that helps with that, and really to helps do the things that need to happen, know the things that need to happen, and that makes a difference, particularly in my position right now. But yeah, and yeah, maybe I'm a little struggling to get the get the writing.
Oh, no.
We're 2 weeks from opening, and so everything is coming down. So yeah.
No, it makes sense. Yeah, and I would say for CTO or for others in the Dublin district, it sounds like, being able to streamline that feedback loop for David is going to be helpful. Then for other CTOs, I would say definitely model what success looks like in this same regard, of where you can provide and build that strong ecosystem where all the information is flowing back, but still with that North Star of student success. I totally grasp that, and I definitely hope the audience does as well. Before we wrap it up here, definitely wanted to ask, any, departing thoughts. I know within your role, it's really something that you focus on and or more or less strive for, to be able to provide a refined system. But love to, get any departing thoughts on what you again would want the audience to know, or just maybe just kind of speaking your mind for a moment as well.
You know what? I I think in some ways it's maybe to my detriment. In I would always say, at least in terms of technology and for CTOs who are out there, and I think it's admin as well.
Mm,
You try not to put barriers between yourself and the people you're serving. Um, I and like I said, to my detriment, I have welcomed teachers are more than happy to,
yeah,
and I respond to many as I possibly can to direct emails
good.
when
Wow.
they have questions and they have information and they want to provide feedback, which they do, for parents and things like that. It's easy for us to, as administrators and as definitely as CTOs, to put up a lot of walls
Hmm.
and say, "Oh no, they handle that. They handle
Mm,
that." And yes, I do have people to handle that, right?
yeah,
But the idea is that if I do that too much, I don't hear what's going on outside of my own world, right? And so I think it's still important that um, that we still have that connection, and as admin, we still have that connection with students, teachers, and staff, and to be able to get those emails, respond to them, to be able to take those phone calls and respond to them. Even though, as a director or an assistant superintendent or any of those kinds of things, I think if you don't do that, you start to lose touch with where your job is and what your mission is to be providing to the district. And so for me, like it does on occasion make my day a little more busy,
yeah.
or busier. But I think it's still important to be able to do that and to be able to respond on a personal and professional level. And I'm hoping in some way that that is a positive that the district staff and everything take away from not only working with me but working with my department as well.
Love that. Going above and beyond is the takeaway I got from that. So, like you said, it might be to detriment of your daily schedule, but I definitely think it's benefiting not only the student outcomes, but the larger district as a whole. So, definitely commend you for that. Uh,
Yeah.
Again, David, this conversation has been great. I'd say I didn't realize we've been talking this long. It's been the conversation has flowed. So I appreciate your insights and really your feedback, just to our inquiries. Again, our audience is our other educators and district directors across the U.S. And so this type of insight is extremely valuable. So I want to say thank you again for the time and for your input.
Well, thank you very much. I had a great time, and I appreciate you having me.
Thanks for listening. For more stories, updates, and behind the scenes content, follow Community on LinkedIn and YouTube. Have a guest idea or topic you want us to explore? We'd love to hear from you. To learn more, visit communityfoundation.org.